Okay, so in today's video, we're going to be talking all about how to prepare for your first interview, whether it be a college interview or a job interview, because I recently had to do like my first interview that gave me anxiety and it was very scary. So I'm gonna kind of walk you guys through what I did to prepare for that interview, and then also what I would do to prepare for a job interview if it's your first time and you're also, you know, getting anxious, getting anxiety, getting stress. So I hope that this video helps in making it a less stressful time. So first we're gonna talk about college, because I'm a high school student about to go to college, and I made these tips when I was like preparing for my first college interview. So it was over the phone, but I think that made it more stressful because when you can't see someone's face and like facial expressions, it like makes it difficult to like gauge how well you're doing. There's like multiple different types of college interviews. For some like private and really good public schools, they'll do like alumni interviews, which is where you will meet with an alumni in your area at like a coffee shop or the library, or maybe even on campus if you live close to the school. And then there's also like group interviews where, you know, a bunch of kids come together and you're interviewed all together in like a group setting. Now this one isn't as common, but there is one school that I have applied to that has a group interview, and I'm actually going to it on Friday, so I'll let you guys know how that goes. And there's like, if you're applying to a specific program, for instance a BA MD or a BS MD program, or a BA JD program, or a pre-dentistry program, or pre-farm, or you know, any combined degree programs, they will usually have their own interviews, and sometimes there will be multiple rounds of interviews for programs like that, just because they really have to narrow it down, and the best way to do that is through multiple rounds of interviews. So depending on what type of interview you're doing, then you need to look up sample interview questions, or like what to expect based off of the interview that you're doing. So if you're doing an alumni interview, then a Google search could be alumni interview sample questions, or how does an alumni interview usually go, or what to expect at an alumni interview. And then you can, you know, change this based off of whether you're doing a group interview or a program interview, etc. And then once you've looked up a bunch of practice questions, the next thing I want you to do is open up a Google Doc tab or a Word document tab if you are old and use Word. Copy and paste the sample questions that you find on Google or Reddit or whatever, wherever you find sample questions from, and then we are going to develop some practice answers. So this is super important in helping like reduce the stress, so that you don't get asked a question and you blank out on it because you just completely weren't expecting it and you don't have anything, you know, to say for it. And there might be some questions asked at your interview that you might blank out on, but at least if you have sample questions that are like similar to that, you might be able to have an idea of like what to say or to respond to it. And for most interviews, at least for the interviews that I have done, none of my interviewers have like deviated from like the expected questions to be asked. Like the only difference is with my Starbucks interview, like she asked me about some of the hobbies that I do outside of school, which is a sample question that if you look up, you know, job interview questions, some of them will ask what you do in your free time, so you are prepared to answer that, you know? And then once you have developed a full thing of like practice answers, then you can practice like a sample interview, I guess you could call it, with a family member or friend. So what you can do is have someone else pretend to be your interviewer, and then you be the interviewee, and then they ask you questions and then you answer how you would if they were asking. And this just helps make the answers so you can see whether your answers are organic or if they feel really stuffy and like rehearsed, because you want to be rehearsed and prepared, but you don't want to sound rehearsed. You want to sound prepared, but you don't want to sound rehearsed and like robotic, very generic. You want to be prepared, but you also, you know, want to have some uniqueness and organicness to whatever you're answering, you know? And then for a job, the only difference that I would say with a job interview is that you should definitely bring your resume if you're interviewing for a job. I don't think it's necessarily important to bring your resume to college interviews. Actually, some college websites like say like don't bring your resume, because that's not what the alumni is looking at. They already know what's on your resume. They just want to know more about you and stuff that they can't get from your resume. And then also with a job interview, you know, you might want to dress a little bit more professionally than you would for a college interview. You know, for some college interviews, like if you're doing a program interview or if you're doing an alumni interview, you know, you might not want to show up in like your normal get up, you know, jeans, t-shirt, if that's what you usually wear. You might want to do something a little more polished, a little more dressed up than that. But for a job interview, you know, you want to do business casual. You want to do business like attire, maybe a blazer, maybe a skirt, maybe a dress, maybe some dress pants, you know, dressing it up just to do that. And then for both interviews, for both college and a job, you want to be able to turn questions around. So like in the questions that are asking about your weaknesses, you want to turn the weakness into actually a strength. And thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you like this, I hope that you like, subscribe, comment down below. I respond to every single comment, and I would love to hear from you. If you have any, thoughts, insight, questions, comments, anything, just comment and I will see it and I'll respond. And if you guys see this part of the video, thank you so much. Love you, and would you consider joining my little group, my little family clique? And yeah, without further ado, not without further ado, bye. Hello. Bye.